الله أكبر
حي على الصلاة
الله أكبر الله أكبر
حي على الصلاة
الله أكبر.
Islam boys, please be seated.
الله أكبر.
I rise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I extend the highest of honors to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations, Islam. I extend high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. I extend high honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nation owe you the Moors of compound interest. Islam. This is also the flag of our birth. Islam. Extend high honors to the noble Sheik staff, noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the Hills and Bays, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam. Praise Allah, Moors. See, Moors, you know, it is said that our Prophet Noble Drew Ali once stood before the Moors and said he held up the Quran and the divine constitution and bylaws.
Islam.
He said that I brought you everything it takes to save a nation.
That's right.
Islam?
Right.
So here you have your divine creed, your holy and divine laws. You have your laws that bind you to the laws of the national government as well.
Right.
Islam? Now, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you know, we have a key. It says, you know, what is our prophet to us? Our prophet is what? What is our prophet to us, Brother Chairman?
He's an angel.
Islam, more. And what is an angel, more?
Angel is a concept. Rise giving Allah the highest of praise and the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Islam.
An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh.
Islam, more.
Islam.
Manifested in human flesh. So, you know, Moorish Americans do not accept the mind state that an angel is a spook.
That's right.
Angels are human beings. They come to carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations. Islam? Spooks can't give messages to nations.
That's right.
Islam? See, you know, I asked the chairman, I said, Moor, I would like to hear, you know, this holy day, you know, the Moorish Americans, you know, the members, you know, give a rendition, their rendition of what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Divine National Movement meant to them. And why did I ask this? See, every so often, you know, you have to take an assessment of where you're at, of where everybody in the ranks is at. And see, as administration, we can never assume where everybody is at along the road.
Right.
You know, we have to hear from the membership, right? We have to, you know, see, you know, because we're watching, we see things, right? But, you know, there's a word in, you know, in one of our forefathers' tongue, which is Arabic, which is shahada. The word shahada means to bear witness. Right? So, you know, you have to get a person in a position where they bear witness to truth. You got to see them bear witness to it to know where they're at. So that way it removes assumption. You know, and not to mention too, you know, sometimes even as Grand Sheik, I like to sit back and be taught. You know, this is not, the Prophet set up a movement where, you know, if you dedicate yourself to these lessons, you know, you'll find yourself, you know, starting off as follower and evolving into leader. Right? But leadership is a measure that must be taught. You see, starting with this Quran right here, from the very cover, I'll just demonstrate the cover, says, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father, God Allah. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
On the reverse cover, it says, on the back cover, it says, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to know yourself and your father, God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate.
Indeed.
Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree.
Right.
The uniting of Asia.
Right.
See, our race is Asiatics. And see, an Asiatic is one who draws his bounty from the realm of the manifest.
That's right.
Okay? But a Muslim is one that draws his bounty from the spiritual as well as the realm of the manifest. Right? So when the Prophet returned our nationality to us of Moorish American, all right, and our divine creed of Islam or Islamism, thus making us Muslims, it put us in the point where we can unite the different aspects of our being and function as a manifest of that oneness or that unity that the Moors demonstrated earlier. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, for me personally, represents something that is irreplaceable. I can't go back to what I was before.
That's right.
Islam. If I was to look at, where I come from, your brother Heru Ranesi-El was born in 1972 in the state of New Jersey. I was born around a lot of various different ethnic groups. Italians, Polish, Greek, even some, Puerto Rican, so on and so forth. But I noticed everybody around me had a nationality and a heritage, except my people. I grew up in an environment where self-hatred was the norm. I grew up in an environment where, we played the thing back in the day called the dozens.
Right.
You denigrate your brother. Talk about your mama. Talk about your, you know what I mean? Talk about your, how funny your kids look. We took fun in that. Right. We looked at that as a form of recreation.
Right.
Tearing each other down, right? Knowing doggone well we come from an environment where, we didn't hear anything that was going to lift you up. Where were you going to get that from? If what you do for fun is to tear each other down, where do you go in your own community to be lifted up? See, as the chairman demonstrated, from the Prophet's lessons, where how did the Prophet begin to teach the Moorish Americans? Said, by teaching them to be themselves, right? And in that process of it, he says that, we are to uplift fallen humanity and to teach those things necessary to make us better citizens.
Right.
This is an in-depth process because this is a downtrodden people. We descend from a downtrodden people, right? Not saying that, we don't subscribe to the ideology that we are descendants of slaves. We're not descendants of slaves. Our forefathers were prisoners of war. We fought a war and lost. But there was plenty of time we fought wars and won, and we enslaved other people, which doesn't make it right. All right? Which, as my brother said, he's familiar with some of the history of the Moors. So, being familiar with some of the history of our Moorish ancient fathers, that the Moorish ancient fathers enslaved many different nations before. But from a karmic perspective, to bind anyone against their will is immoral. Right? It doesn't make it any better when our forefathers do it.
That's right.
So we don't take glory in the fact that our forefathers were slaveholders. Prophet Noble Drew Ali instructs in this record, he said, triumph and empire are the rewards of murder. But we talk about the Moorish Empire. So how do we get the Moorish Empire? Waging wars, it was bloodshed once. Right? Not saying that was the general way, but we did shed blood. We did bind people against their will. And as a result, we ended up in an enslaved or in a state of bondage. All right? But getting back to myself and what the Prophet means to me, I didn't, I grew up without a father, so I didn't have an idea what it was to be a man. Prophet Noble Drew Ali has a lesson where he says, have courage enough for truth. Right? Truth does not win friends. Islam? Say that again. Truth does not win friends. If you're one that stands on principle and virtue, and you want to live your life in a matter of truth, when you speak the truth, you will make enemies. But the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, better enemies gained by truth than friends gained by flattery. All right? So if you have people around you that are comfortable with living the lie, all right, then your whole existence is based on falsehood. Right? And this is something that either passes or fades away. Now, the Prophet says truth doesn't change, right? But we demonstrated earlier, through my brothers, that, we all find ourselves in a position where we had to change. Well, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali in this record, Moorish literature, he has an article where he starts the article off, he says, forced to make changes. Right? Forced to make change. Why was the Prophet forced to make changes? He was forced to make changes because the people that he had came to raise up, the people he had gave positions to, the people he had trusted, so on and so forth, they refused to let go of Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian, right? They were ones that, if I were to ask a rhetorical question just for your own reflection, where do you go when disaster strikes as a Moorish American Muslim? If disaster strikes your personal life, you don't run away from the temple.
right.
You run as fast as you can to the temple.
Right.
Because if you have a Bay or Il on the last, on your last name as your surname or tribal name, if you have that, that means that you are duty bound that when it goes down, you got to get to the temple to get right. Because if you had the ability to raise yourself up on your own, we would have never been in the predicament in the first place. At all. You'd have been raised up from a child on the cornerstone of truth. Right? But none of us were. So when like the prophet says if you lose confidence in your prophet, give up your card and buttons, cease wearing your turban or fast, and do what? Return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. And how did the prophet found us? When he came in 1913, what state were we in 1913? Negro, black, and colored. We were Christians, right? And when I say Christian, I'm not doing that to denigrate that particular religion, but we were claiming something that we didn't have a full idea of what it was, right? We had no idea in 1913 about Constantine and what they did in 325 AD when they merged all the European pagan holidays together. And Constantine said he had a vision of a writing in the sky with a symbol, which was the cross, and that writing was a Latin phrase, which was in hoc signo vinces. In hoc signo vinces. In this sign you will conquer. Vinces is the word victorious in Latin, right? So this was the sign that the European nations said that wherever you saw this sign, that represents conquering. When you see people walking around with this sign around their necks, it means they've been conquered. When you walk through the cemeteries, right? These are people that couldn't conquer death. Death conquered them, so they put a cross on their tombstone, right? This is the sign that when they found our Messiah teaching, raising our people up, and trying to win them back from the iron hand oppression of the Roman nations who occupied a portion of Palestine at their time, they nailed him up on this right here. This was the weapon they used to murder our woolly haired brother Jesus. So this was just, the fact that they thought they conquered his body, but the Quran of Mecca says, it only appears that they killed him.
That's right.
It only appears so. Islam, all right? Because this was one that surely conquered death. If I was to go to the Holy Quran and More Science of America, chapter 43, Prophet Noble Dryly has given us lessons on how to be just rulers. Chapter 43, which is the insufficiency of knowledge. All right? Holy instruction from the Prophet, the insufficiency of knowledge. Instruction 1. If there is anything lovely, if there is anything desirable, if there is anything within the reach of man that is worthy of praise, is it not knowledge? And yet, who is it that attaineth it? Instruction 2. The statesman, it's the politician, right? The statesman proclaimeth that he hath it. The ruler of the people claimeth the praise of it, but findeth the subject that he possesseth it. Evil is not requisite to man, neither can vice be necessary to be tolerated. More, don't allow falsehood to take place around you. Because the prophet tells you, evil is not requisite to man. You don't have to, live a life of evil or be subjected to it. Again, neither can vice be necessary to be tolerated. Yet, how many evils are permitted by the connivance of the laws? How many crimes committed by the decree of the council? What is connivance? This is when a group of people get together and agree, perform a compact agreement to do wrong. We're going to get together and break the law, right? It says, but be wise, O ruler, and learn, O thou that art to command the nations. One crime authorized by thee is worse than the escape of 10 from punishment. So this whole thing of us allowing, little evils to go on around us. You know what I'm saying? The prophet tells us, to lie, he is afraid. Like we blush at, we blush at the vibration of having to lie about anything, right? You get to the point where, like I've been telling the Moors for years that these lessons will work on you, right? So you come to the holy day, you hear the Sheiks demonstrate the lessons across the rostrum. And then you pick up the Quran, when you can, which should be often, more often, than not. But you go through your lessons that way, all right? Or you might watch the YouTube videos or whatever, all right? But you can't take that stuff in your subconscious mind, not work on it, and start sending it into your conscious mind for change, all right? If you keep doing it over a long period of time, you'll find yourself in a position there where you're at a crossroads of, wow, I used to be able to make a decision to just do this to get over. I can't do that no more because now I'm actually seeing myself. There's a period of time you get where you actually start hearing yourself. Like, I don't sound right no more. You like the more like Brother Akil Bey demonstrated, he says, his circle of friends now is becoming different because, when they get together on some folly, they know that he's not the one that's a part of the folly no more. So either they got to switch up what they're doing or they're not going to be able to be around the brother. Right. But praise Allah is that he got brothers here that's not into none of that. So if he needs to socialize, he can socialize with his brothers and be one. Islam in truth. All right? But it says, instruction 5. When the people are numerous, when thy sons increase about thy table, sendest thou them not out to slay the innocent, and to fall before the sword of him whom they have not offended. The Prophet in our Quran gives you a multiplicity of lessons relative to how to raise your children. Right? The Prophet gives us these lessons because there is no escaping the fact that these ones carry our DNA and represent us in the world, right? So when we get older and they go off and they form families and so on and so forth, they're going to demonstrate from the example that they learned from us, either from direct teaching or through example. So the Prophet gives us the keys of how to operate, right? He says, if the objects of thy desire demanding the lives of 1,000 sayest thou not, I will have it. Surely thou forgettest that he who created thee created also these, and that their blood is as rich as thine. This is relative to ones that you would consider to be enemies outside of yourself. People you don't get along with, people you can't stand, Allah forbid. But we have these vibrations towards people, but we forget the same divine spirit that animates your flesh or activates your flesh activates theirs. Right? See, in India, they have a custom amongst the Hindus. When they greet each other, they put the two hands together and they bow and they say Namaste. And Namaste means I bow to the divinity in you. You see? And this is what we forget, that when I look in the eyes of my brother, I see myself. I want for him what I want for me. I don't want him to know just like, because I don't want him to walk out this door and have any questions deluding to the fact of, of his own ignorance. I want him to be like, what? Wow, I was sparked today to learn something about myself and to be a part of a collective to make and affect change. All right? Moving forward, instruction 7. Sayest thou that justice cannot be executed without wrong? Surely thine own words condemn thee. Thou who flattereth with hopes that the criminal, thou who flattereth with hope, false hopes, the criminal that he may confess his guilt. Art not thou unto him a criminal? Or art thou guiltless because he cannot punish it? When thou commandest to torture him who is but suspected of ill, dare thou to remember that thou mayest rack the innocent. Is thy purpose answered by the event? Is thy soul satisfied with his confession? Pain will enforce him to say what is not, as easy as what is, and anguish hath caused innocent to accuse herself. That thou mayest not kill him without cause. Thou dost worse than kill him, that thou mayest prove if he be guilty, thou destroyest him innocent. O blindness to all truth. And that's an exclamation that we find ourselves blind to everything that is true. Everything that is true. I give honors to those that can look in the mirror and see the flaw and change. Right? Because that takes courage. Right? It's real easy to just, people, I'm just doing me. This is just who I am. No, it's not. It's a lie. You were created perfect from your Father God.
That's right.
So for us demonstrating falsehood and lower emotion, that's not us. Operating from our passions is not us. Allowing our emotions to control us is not us. Right? This is something that we have to remember. It says, O insufficiency of the wisdom of the wise, know when thy judge shall bid thee account for this, thou shalt wish 10,000 guilty to have gone free, rather than one innocent to stand forth against thee. this is the last verse I'm going to draw from. It says, insufficient as thou art to the maintenance of justice, how shalt thou arrive at the knowledge of truth? How shalt thou ascend to the footstep of her throne? Islam, Moors?
Islam.
I'd like to go over to chapter 23. Holy instructions for thy children. And Moors, you know, when we read this chapter, I've heard it demonstrated in a lot of ways relative to it only being, you know, for children. But we have to remember that, you know, Allah is the Father of the universe, thereby making us His children.
Right.
Right? So these are instructions for us. Now, also, too, look at this in light of when you're responsible for teaching the holy instructions to anyone, remember this first verse. And more importantly, remember the first word of the verse, or instruction. Instruction 1. It says, consider.
Parent.
Say that again. Consider, thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust. The being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Just pause there. We received this charter, the Moorish Science Temple of America, in the year 2006. I've had the opportunity to meet everyone in this room before they knew the Prophet. I've had the opportunity to watch all these ones as they unfolded in their knowledge of the Prophet change and pick up in vibration and pull out leadership qualities that were already inside themselves and begin to bring it forth. I've had the opportunity to see this. I've had the opportunity to see these lessons. Now, men make themselves manifest. Now, I must say that it hasn't been some, you know, without some bumps and bruises along the way, right? However, you know, we have a tendency to, you know, to come together. Those who, you know, really appreciate the lessons. When something goes wrong, we confide in each other, right? And I've seen us come together as a family, which is a word I'm going to hit later. Come together as a family and work these things out and continue to grow. So praise Allah for that. So, reading that verse again, or that instruction again. Consider thou the parent the importance of thy trust. The being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or a worthless member to the community. Prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with the maxims of truth. So anyone that you're responsible to teach, you got to, you know, get to them. What is that? What is a maxim? Maxim is synonymous with the word axiom. Write these two words down. Okay. Maxims and axioms are philosophical statements of truth. Their purpose is to make the person who's reading it reflect on a higher level, on a higher plane of thought. Okay? So the prophet says to prepare him early with instruction and season his minds with the maxims of truth. So there is no such thing as it being too early to begin to impart these things to someone, right? As soon as a child is able to stand, you should start putting these things in them. If you're dealing with an adult, it's the first time they're meeting the prophet, the first time they're coming in the temple, you want to greet them with virtue, principle, and integrity, right? You don't want to start all this history and the languages and etymology. You don't want to start with that, because all that's going to do is feed the ego, right? You got to get to the inner core of principle, right? Instruction 4 says, watch the bent of his inclination. The thing when it says the bent of his inclination, the things, you know, where well, that young person or that child might be going crooked, right? It says, and set him right in his youth, and let no evil habit gain strength with his years. Meaning that as time goes on, if you don't set it straight, it gets stronger and stronger. So they'll either wax stronger in disobedience or obedience. All right? But it's your duty as the one that's responsible for guiding them to set them straight. It says, so shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. Instruction 6, the prophet says, a wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doeth right is an honor to his gray hairs. Instruction 7, the soil is thine own, let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. Right? So again, you have to be careful about the seeds that you plant. Right? I forget who, I think it was Brother Raphael Hakeem Ben, talking about the power of the words, being responsible for the word. See, the word is such that it has the power to create, save, or destroy. We've learned how to talk, but we have not learned how to communicate. To have a good communication vibe means that not just when things are good did you judge it by, but when things go bad, can you defer to your lessons? Can you bring it back to center and say, you know what did the prophet say? See, this is the power of what was brought to us because we have something to defer to that's greater than our own lower selves, right? And it says, the soil is thine own, let it not want cultivation. Cultivation is the same word of culture, right? To cultivate something is to, refine it, to bring it from its most rough, barbaric or brutish state to something that's more civilized, more godlike, right? More, worthy of admiration insofar as it has become a model of action. Okay? Says instruction 8. Now, this goes into principles or the virtues. Actually, I should say virtues. It says, teach him obedience. So for those taking notes, write these down. It says, teach him obedience. Write down obedience. And he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty. Write down modesty. And he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude. Write down gratitude. And he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity. Write that down. And he shall gain love. Teach him temperance. Write that down. And he shall have health. And temperance is also the ability to have moderation, to demonstrate moderation. And you have to demonstrate, you have to be moderate in your moderation. Okay? It says, teach him prudence, write that down, and fortune shall attend him. Teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Write down justice. Teach him sincerity, write down sincerity, and his own heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Write down diligence. Teach him benevolence. Write down benevolence. And his mind shall be exalted. 2 more. Teach him science. Write down science. And his life shall be useful. Teach him religion. Write down religion. And his death shall be happy. These are what is known as the 12-step ladder. You should have 12 virtues in front of you. Right? These are our virtues from our culture as Moorish American Muslims. So when someone asks you, what does a Moorish American stand on? What do we believe? What are we about? This is what we're about, right? A lot of times we get straight off talking about nationality, divine freedom. And those, if you watch those debates and how they scale themselves out, or how they, branch out, you notice all this is a bunch of flexing of ego. Even amongst those that are good intentioned, a lot of times. Because a lot of times it's the quest to be right, which is okay, right? But you'll notice is, if you're not rooted in these 12 steps, right, in your quest to be right, you'll forget justice, mercy, and love. So in the process, you may offend, and you may create more enemies than friends, right? Now, I know I said in the beginning that, truth does create enemies. But there's also a way of demonstrating, the root of the word tactic is tact, right? So tactic is strategy, right? But there's also a way to go about, that particular strategy. So most people don't understand that, okay, when I'm demonstrating this truth, let me think first before I speak, right? Ancient master said, think 7 times before you speak. Because by the time you get to that 7th time, it'll change before it comes out your mouth, right? Do you have a filter? Some people don't have filters, right? But you must have a filter if your purpose is to create and to save, right? But if you only seek to destroy and gloat about in your own arrogance, then you'll just say anything that comes to mind. And this is what our people were taught out there in, the cares of the world. We weren't taught to say those things. First of all, we weren't taught to just simply care about one another. Like how to actually care about how you walk away from this conversation, right? And the fact that I care means I'm going to impart the truth to you in a way where you still get a chance to walk away whole. I'm not going to strip your manhood away from you, right? Because I want to be right. I'm not going to strip your womanhood away from you because I want to be right. I'm going to let you walk away with something, but I'm going to plant some seeds, right? And I'm aware of the fact that those seeds that I plant grow in the dark, right? So I'm not going to see your growth initially, right? Because everybody's, attempting to solve their life sums. And the prophet does say that man is likely to find himself where he can solve his problems the best, right? So there may be some relatives where you might have, spoke to them about the prophet and they're in church and they can't separate from church to come to the temple because they're finding themselves where they can solve the problems the best. Something about that environment is working on them, right? But so is the truth that you imparted. So is that seed that you planted. It's still growing, even though they're sitting in those pews in church, right? So you still have to do your duty of the civilizer of imparting information. That's an obligation that you have to do, right? But we have to do these things to the point of getting us back to the vibe of family, right? Going to Moorish literature. In the article entitled "A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations." I'm only going to, it's a very lengthy article. I'm going to demonstrate one paragraph. Our prophet instructs us, he says, the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, right? Bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national people and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. Now, there's an ancient maxim, talking about maxims. There's an ancient maxim that says, I'll write this down when I was taking notes. Says, sloth, thou art mine enemy. Sloth is another word for laziness. Sloth is another word for inactivity. Sloth is another word for passivity, meaning that you just lay around and let things happen around you, right? That vibration should be an enemy to Moorish American Muslims. We should always be seeking to find a way to be better. We should always be seeking to find a way where we can pull out the inner part of ourselves that we've never met. The lifestyle that we've been given here in American society of, and one of the brothers before me demonstrated this, but we get a job, we work that job 9 to 5, we get off, and we're too tired to do anything else except be involved in some form of recreation, which semantically recreation is wrecking creation. So that ends up entailing, either just, playing games or, drinking or smoking or sniffing or drinking, whatever lower self activity takes you away from doing something to uplift your own people. See, that the groups that we respect, even if it's inadvertently, the groups that we talk about, the Mexicans, they have this. We all talk about what they have carnally, right? Materially. The Mexicans have this, the Koreans have this, the Jews have such and such and such. There's a tireless group, there's a group that amongst them that works tirelessly to ensure that their group excels in every field of endeavorment. That's not, and I'm quite sure they have slackers just like we do, right? But there's a core group, right, that operates usually from a religious society within their core. So for the Jews, it would be the synagogue, right? When they come there, and the rabbi and the chief, the rabbinical staff is coordinating efforts so as they go out in society, they can remember the relations that bind them to love and unity, and they go out and conquer under the Jewish ideal, right? This is what the prophet is calling out for. The prophet is calling out, he says, if you have race pride, right? and you think your condition could be better, join the Moorish Science Temple of America. He's not asking you to join the Moorish Science Temple of America to sit back, right, and allow dust to gain on your hind parts, right? He's asking you to, okay, if you work a job 8 hours a day, praise Allah. You have to earn a living, right? When you get off, you should put at least 8 hours after you get off for the Moorish ideal. If the Prophet says your holy day is on Friday, and Act 2 is a part of your laws, and you have to work on Friday, you come to your chairman of your temple. Come to the Grand Sheik of your temple and let them know, Grand Sheik, chairman, I want to make it to the temple, but they got me working. We have documentation where we can get you off on your holy day, where you can attend your meeting properly, because we can't coordinate if you're not here. Right? So when the Prophet says, he talks about that one family. Brother Chairman, may I have the dictionary record? The black one. Gratitude, awesome. Family. Right? Drawing from the New Webster Encyclopedic Dictionary of the English language. Under family. Because again, most of us, we find ourselves in family situations. We don't know the first thing what family is about. What are the roles of family? Act 7, about divine constitution and bylaws, states, salvation, Allah, unity, Moorish Science Temple of America, divine constitution and bylaws. Act 7 states that all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all of the acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. And he goes into the roles, right? Because every gender has something that they're bound by law to do. And you must perform your job, even if you're hated. You must perform, right? It says, husband, you must support your wife and children. It says, wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. And we give honors to our sisters because nature has put more responsibilities on them because they have the burden of having children and rearing them, even if the man don't have no sense and finds himself in the world just doing what he got to, she has to raise those children, right? So we have to honor her for her role, what Allah placed her to do, right? It says sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of uplifting fallen humanity, so even the children have a job, right? It says sons and daughters must obey father and mother. It's not optional. Be industrious. So you have to even teach children little trades and little ways of how to get money to contribute towards the uplifting of fallen humanity. You have to teach them that early. And the Prophet says, and be a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. You can't leave the children out because by symbolic right, they're watching everything that goes on around them. And if we're not giving them the instruction that they need, when they go out into the world, they won't know anything about love and unity. Right? They'll know everything that's opposite, right? But in terms of family, right? New Webster's Dictionary defines family, and it presents the etymology first. It says a household. It says the slaves or servants of a house. From famulus, Famulus, meaning a servant or a slave. From the Ascan famel, Famel, meaning a servant. From the Sanskrit zaman, so family comes from the Sanskrit word zaman, which is Dhaman, meaning a house, or that which is within a house. It says the body of persons is the definition part. The body of persons who live in one house and under one head. It doesn't say multiple heads. 2 heads, 3 heads can't rule one body. It says one head. So the body of persons who live in one house and under one head. The parents and children alone. The children as distinguished from the parents. Those who descend from a common progenitor, a tribe or a race. Kindred, lineage, line of ancestors. Honorable descent. Families deal in honor. If you have a family, you're not demonstrating honor. You don't have a family, you got a bunch of Negroes living together. Tell you what the Prophet brought us. The Prophet said, with these lessons, you could set your household in order. So the Moorish Americans shouldn't be living in households that are not in order. If you don't know how to get them in order, let's come together and let us reason together so we can get your houses in order. Islam wars? It says, noble, so I mentioned honorable before, honorable descent. Then it comes right back and says, noble or respectable stock. The fruit of your loins should come out as honorable, noble, and respectable. This is the quality of character that Brother Raphael Bey demonstrated. The quality of character that arises from the fact, not belief. Because if you demonstrate, quality and character, it becomes a fact that you belong to a nation or a state. That's nationality. Right? It says, in scientific classifications, a group of individuals more comprehensive, right, than a genus, and less so than an order. And it's also related to the word familial, right, of or pertaining to family or hereditary. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
It also says one who has a family or household, a married man, right? Prophet says, take unto thyself a wife. I'm not even going to freestyle. Let's read it from the right. I love quoting my prophet exactly as he put it. Chapter 22, verse 1, instruction 1. Duty of a husband. It says, take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. Only way we're going to become faithful members of a society or this society called Moorish Science Temple of America is if we're married. Because if we're married, then our household will come in order. Because at that point, you vow to live under the law. This is what Moorish is about. Right? This is what this flag is all about. Right? That star in the center represents those principles that bind us together. Right? So we came out of this. Right? This was the bloodshed. This was the cares of the world. Right? Many of Moorish American and ancient Moorish forefathers fell and shed their blood for this, for this flag to be red. Right? But these principles right here, that green represents the heart chakra. It's the fourth. See, this is one of the reasons why the prophet's standing like this. Where's the nearest place to meet Allah? It's in the heart, right? Of your 7 chakras, 7 seats of the body, the fourth is your heart seat, and it vibrates green. Green is a healing color, right? So these 5 principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, are healing attributes. That once you take them on, it'll heal you from the hatreds that we suffer. We all got them. We all got them. I have things I'm working towards, and I know the change is taking place. Little small things that take place let me know, wow, okay, other people are able to see the work that I'm putting in on myself. Last night, I was studying, as I do every night, and about 11:30, my oldest son gave me a call. His truck broke down. He was out in Morrow, Georgia. It's not too far, 25 minutes away, but it was, raining real hard, cats and dogs last night. So I've always raised my son on the maxims of truth. So he knows if he ever called me in adversity, I'm out the door in at least 15 minutes. It won't take me no more than 15 minutes to be out the door on the way, right? So I get there, we assess the situation, nothing kind of too deep. But we called the tow truck, I had to tow the vehicle. And we're waiting on the tow truck to come, so the tow truck pulls up, jump out. So I didn't have my fez on, but I had a red kufi on. And I jumped out the truck, and the gentleman's walking up to me. He's looking at me. Right? So I see he has an olive hue, but I couldn't perceive his nationality right off. So he looked at me, he said, "Salam alaikum, brother." I said, "Wa alaikum assalam." He's like, I can tell you Muslim. He said, "It's not the kufi or the beard." He said, "But the nur, which means light, that you have around you." He said, "Let me know automatically that you are Muslim." He said, "I know Allah." He said, "I feel blessed that Allah sent me out tonight on this rainy night to meet a Muslim." I said, "Well, brother, what's your nationality?" He said, "I'm from Afghanistan." I said, "Praise Allah, I'm Moorish American." He said, "We're brothers." We hugged and embraced. Praise Allah, boys. Islam? See, when the nations of the earth begin to see the work that you're putting in, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. But what a blessing you are to others as you walk through the earth. You begin to magnetize various different things. He told my son, he said, my son needed the vehicle towed, 2 times actually. So once to the house, and then the next one he needed it towed to the mechanic. But he was like, "Well, since I'm doing this for a Muslim," he said, "I'll just charge you 1 toll fee. I come in the morning and tow it to the mechanic for free. They said, because you're my Muslim brother, and I have to do this for you. I said, praise Allah. See, you don't know the universal order that Prophet Noble Jarabi came and connected you with. But key to that is you can't just be a Muslim. You can't just have divine creed without nationality. Because I know many a Muslim that has the divine creed. They got the religious side, but they don't have quality and character. And the nations of the earth look at them as Negroes with Islam. You see? But when you have both, you have a good balance of both, the nations of the earth will come to your aid. It's a saving power in it that you don't even really understand yet. Right? And praise Allah for the ranks that I stand in here at Temple number 19. Because these faithful ones I stand amongst, tried and true. Right? And the ones that aren't here, that are supposed to be here, you know, I send a call out for everybody to come home. Right? Looking on this camera right here, this stuff goes out through the internet. Send out a call to those members those who we've written nationality cards to. Come home. If you choose not to come home, you know, this will not be tolerated any longer and your card will be voided out. And we'll return you back to the state that the Prophet found you in. Because we got work to do. I give honest to the one that any time we have an uplifting act where we have to travel out of state, it's certain ones amongst these ranks in this room right now that volunteer. I don't even have to ask, can they go? They'll find a way to make sure that they're there. There's more right here, Brother Raphael Bay. There's more drives from Alabama here every week. You got more right here in Atlanta. I can't make it. And more drives from another state. So I'm hard pressed to hear any excuse about a Moor not attending his meetings. There was a Moor named Brother Timothy Dingwell. Give honors to our forefather. Our brother said, ain't a law written in heaven or hell that a Moorish American can miss his meetings. Because it's written in divine law that you be here. You were ordained from times before you incarnated to sit in these sacred roles. Right? So excuses, how many excuses did our prophet have to not teach us? Right? In 1913 to 1929. Right? I just found out earlier this week that the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey hit the shores in 1916 and immediately started teaching. One of the leaders of Vietnam, whose name was Ho Chi Minh. Right? Ho Chi Minh, whose nationality is Vietnamese, spent some time in America in the early 20s. And he was in New York at those times. Right? He attended meetings of the UNIA under the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He took what he learned from Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey back to Vietnam and started the revolution against the British. He wrote a book entitled The Black Race. This is his language, not mine. In this book, you would have swore with Marcus Garvey teaching, right? He took what one of our forefathers here taught and went back to his country and organized his people against European domination. But here we are right here, the people that the forerunner was sent to, being hard-headed against the one that was sent to us. But he can take it somehow and go to Vietnam and organize his people. What are we suffering from? It's no excuse. It's no excuse. You know, over the years, I've had tried to sit back and delegate, authority to allow ones that are in the ranks, to develop, within themselves. However, this upcoming year, and let's address that too. January 1 to December 31st is not our time reckoning system. That is what's known as a fiscal year. The word fiscal is merely the word physical. If I were to go to etymology, as my chairman loves to demonstrate, etymological principles. Fiscal, from the 1560s, means pertaining to public revenue. From the Middle French fiscal, from the late Latin fiscalis, meaning of or belonging to the state treasury, from the Latin fiscus, meaning state treasury, originally meaning money, bag, purse, basket made of twigs in which money was kept, which is of unknown origin. The etymological notion is of the public purse. The general sense is financial. So when you hear how people talking about they doing what they can do to get the bag or get to the bag, they talking about the fiscal or the physical manifestation of life, right? So as this fiscal or physical year closes itself out, because Moorish American New Year is January 15th for us. It's not January 1, it's January 15th. That's when our New Year comes in. 7 days after our Prophet's manifestation day, January 8th, and that would be 1886 AD. Okay? But as this year closes out, and we go into a new fiscal year, a new business year, and a new divine year for our January 15th, certain things will be declared out. Excuses will be declared out. There'll be some that you are accustomed to in a certain ranking system now, that next year will be elevated to other posts. The prophet says, and magistrate subject, I'm paraphrasing that, you promote them according to their merits, right? And there are some amongst you all today who, because of your merits and the work that you put in, the prophet says your fidelity will not be forgotten, right? And more responsibility will be expected from you, all right? We don't seek after titles, right? However, if you are issued a title, know that title, it means responsibility, right? It means that more will be expected of you. A greater sense of being will be expected from you, right? So it's just certain things that going forward, we're going to take a shift in how we move as Temple number 19. January 15th, which actually falls on a Tuesday, when we're able to clear the calendar and coordinate everybody's schedules, because we're going to have a business meeting here at the Temple. Brother Raphael, if you can't make it, we'll get you on the phone, and we'll do it that way with you there. But we'll announce the new direction, we'll announce the new titles, and starting January 16th, we're going to start moving, we're going to hit the ground running, right? Because we're not playing it for our position here in Atlanta. We have a huge responsibility because a lot of people look to our temple for certain things, right? That being the case, it's certain ones amongst you, that I will need on the administration to push things forward faster, right? I'll also be micromanaging a little bit more to make sure that things are followed through, like we say they're going to follow through. Islam, it does no good to the people if we promise that we're going to do a particular thing, and as a temple we don't do it, right? Because again, our people can't afford to be let down anymore, right? We've had enough leaders that lie to our people. We don't want to be amongst them. Islam, does that make any sense to you all? Are there any questions, comments, concerns, statements? Anyone? My brother, you have any questions? You sure? So not yet? We're about to close it. So what we'll do is, I'll go ahead and lower the meeting. You can just reflect. Yes, sir.
You guys meet on Sunday, right?
Yes. Yes, sir. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Is that for you guys, just for
everybody? No, sir. You're more than welcome to come. Bring family and friends. Yes, sir. And that's a really good environment for. That's really like your question and answer session. That's your brainstorming think tank session, right? Which is something that I was going to announce on the 15th, but since there's no need to hold it back. We generally hold Sunday schools from every second and fourth Sunday. We're going to go every Sunday. The chairman will take second and fourth. I'll take first and third, right? So that way every Sunday we'll be here at Sunday school. Islam, all right, starting January 15th, all right? Because again, like I said, we have a lot of work to do. And everybody must pull their weight, myself included. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
All right, with that, I'll lower the meeting. Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali, founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
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 All praise is due to Allah in the highest of honors, to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Moors, I want to thank you all. It's something I say every week, but I can't say it enough because we have to demonstrate gratitude. I want to thank you all for coming out on a Friday night, sacrificing to come so we can reason with one another. You know, Brother Raphael Beg mentioned something. I'm going to touch on this and then we're going to close. He touched on Kwanzaa. And, you know, if you think about Kwanzaa, you have to ask, like, what was Kwanzaa even created for? Right? Kwanzaa was created to give us a holy period, right? To get us to start thinking on vibrating on certain principles, right? It was arranged around the ending of the fiscal year to combat a lot of the Christmas mentality that how people suffer from, and get us more on an African-centered, you know, ideology or ideal. You give honors to our brothers, my brother Malana Karenga, who was the founder of Kwanzaa, right? Kwanzaa was pretty much designed for those who refer to themselves as African Americans, who often find themselves devoid of cultural heritage and principles. So we honor that particular holiday period or cultural period for that purpose, right? But my brother Raphael Bey said something earlier this week via social media, and he said we have a tendency of attempting to recreate things that already exist, right? If I were to go through the principles of Kwanzaa, we have Umoja, Kujichagulia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kumba, and Imani. Now, these words are said to come from a language called Swahili. Right? Swahili comes from East Africa, around the regions of Kenya, Sudan, and so on and so forth, northern Sudan, right? Swahili is a combination of two languages, Bantu and Arabic. Okay? So what Mr. Karenga did was, he combined principles from different cultures. These words, some of these words, the terms directly Umoja, Ujima, and Ujama all bear the same root, which is the Arabic root Jamia. The word Jamia is the word meaning to gather, right? Jamia is the same word as Muslims use for Friday afternoons when they say, I'm going to Juma. Juma is the, you know, what they say today is Yom al Juma, which means the day of gathering, right? Now, why gathering? If you look at the principles, he conjugated in a Swahili sense from that root. You got Umoja, which means, Umoja, which means unity. You got Ujima, which means collective work and responsibility. You have Ujama, which means cooperative economics. All those deal with a gathering of people that circulates these energies amongst themselves. Okay? The term Nia N-I-A. In Arabic means intention. Anyone who's familiar with the Orthodox Islamic Salat, before you begin your prayer, one thing you establish with Allah is your niyah, or your intentions. Okay? Here he has niyah as meaning purpose. That is not out of sync with the Arabic understanding, because you're establishing your purpose as to why you would pray. Niyah is establishing your purpose of how you're moving in our communities. Okay? The term imani. Imani means faith or faithful. Comes from the Arabic root amana. Right? This is also the same word that Christians love. Amen. Amen or amen or amin, amana or imani all means faith or faithful. Right? Now, he has 7 principles laid out here for the principles of Kwanzaa. The number 7 is ancient, right? It is a, historical number that's connected to the Afro-Asiatic people. Even amongst Moorish Americans, we start our prayer off. You see the Moors rise, I rise, giving all praise, and we raise 7 fingers, okay? 7 continents, 7 seas, 7 chakras, 7 colors. 7 candlesticks on a menorah that they demonstrate from Kwanzaa that they got from Israel, right? So our brother, in his attempt to give our people something that they didn't have, pulled from different parts and pieces of our culture to establish Kwanzaa, right? Moorish Americans can and may and sometimes do attend Kwanzaa events to be in support of our brothers who consider themselves African Americans and don't know they have a nationality. You might find a Moorish American at any event. Demonstrating Ifa, demonstrating a numerology circle, astrology. We study all kinds of stuff, right? Because we just like to be wherever our people are at in support of them, right? But as Moorish Americans, we have to remember that Moors, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us an entire culture. It's a complete culture. And while we might, in support of our people who don't have a nationality, might demonstrate Kwanzaa, we didn't particularly need Kwanzaa because what was brought to us was whole. Islam, there's a reason why that number 7, 7 principles of Kwanzaa, right? 7 is on the front of your Quran, right? That 7 is in red, right? The attention getter. Why did they make the stoplight red, right? Pay attention to that number 7, right? But the point is, Kwanzaa is not a new invention. It seems new, whatever, but it's extracted from all of our old stuff, right? Islamism is an old-time religion. The stuff we've been doing for thousands of years, right? So while we give honors to those practitioners of Kwanzaa, what it represents, the more noble and glorious purpose, of that would be to live those principles daily, right? And as Moorish Americans, we have those principles as the 12-step ladder of those 12 virtues we enumerated earlier. We have that as our principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, right? We have that as all our 7 acts of the divine constitution of our laws. We have that as our 7 additional laws that we demonstrate. All these different laws, holy and divine laws that we are bound to preserve. This is what we have as our culture, right? Brought to us by our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right? And the Moorish Americans are very proud of that. And we stand on that. But yet we are humble in our demonstrating of those degrees to our people out there in the world, because their mentality is very fragile. You have to be careful. The Prophet said it doesn't take much to destroy the influence of good leadership.
Allahu Akbar.
حي على الصلاة
Allahu Akbar.